Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fun for Racing Sharon, and we also have Jay Hughesman, and Chris is coming.
Chris is coming. Chris is coming.
Yes, Chris is coming, but he is going to be a little bit late. So I wanted to make sure everybody knows that. Stay tuned. He will be here shortly. But Jay and I are here. Okay, so we are going to get started, I guess, with this one. And that is, how was the racing at St. Louis for the NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series? So, Jay, you want to start us off with that one?
Well, as has been like this last several, it seems like as far as the Xfinity, I thought the racing was great. We did have another rather dominant performance by Connor Zilisch, yours truly. Right now, kind of like SVG on the road courses, you just got to live with it and deal with it because, I mean, it's happening. So I know that many people may feel that it wasn't a good race. I thought the race itself was still good. Unfortunately, we just have one driver that's better and great right now. So on the Cup side, again, I think that displayed it of the variety, the strategies, the racing, all of it, I thought was really good. Again, your option of winning, Denny Hamlin, that again may or may not be your favorite, or your favorite may have got beat. So, but I thought the racing itself was great. I am so glad that it is on the schedule. And it being a playoff race, I thought went well. I think it's one that provides that what's the right word? Intrigue. It's not an open, absolute wild card, but it's also not a lockdown guarantee either when it comes to short track racing. And we saw some situations that developed throughout the race that clarify that. And I think that's great. I think that's what they need.
Yes, indeed. I thought the race, we'll start with the Cup Series. Well, I guess you did do both. I'll start with the Xfinity Series then with Connor Zilisch. I think we're watching history in the making. I love watching Connor Zilisch race. And he just astounds me with how good he really is. But there's a lot of racing that's still going on throughout the pack. So I do enjoy the race, even though it's the same driver winning all of these races. He's breaking records and making history. So I like to kind of enjoy those kind of things as they're happening because I know a lot of times it's underappreciated as it's happening. And it's only later on when it's kind of in the history books that people kind of appreciate what he is doing. I do wonder, and I know we've got this on our hot topics, we're going to talk about it later, is he unbeatable? We'll have to wait and see. I think he is beatable, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out for the remainder of the playoffs here in the Xfinity Series. I thought we still saw plenty of racing throughout the field. Harrison Burton ended up making it into the playoff field. Jeb Burton, unfortunately, did not. He did not have the best of days. He ended up having a little bit of an accident that took him out of the race. So that kind of took away the intrigue there as to who was going to make it. But I still thought we saw some good racing. In the Cup Series side, yeah, Denny Hamlin's not my favorite guy, but I have to say he did win cleanly. And, you know, I thought the racing was good throughout the field. He had to work for it. It didn't just come to him. He did have to work for it. And I think it's time to ask the question, is this his year? Is he going to do it this year, or will he sabotage himself again? And I know we'll talk about playoff implications later as well. So maybe that's one we can throw in there. But again, we saw some good racing. I like watching the strategies play out. Sometimes it does get a little bit confusing on which strategy the drivers are on. But it does make it intriguing to watch them work on their strategy, and you can tell they've worked on a strategy before they came to the race, and they're letting that strategy play out. We did see some people get their feelings hurt. I know Ryan Blaney, and we'll talk about this. Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson had a conversation. Christopher Bell was not happy with the strategy, the way it played out. For him, he felt he had the best car and didn't win. But again, the racing itself I thought was really good. I think WWT Raceway went all out to put on a good venue for the racing, and a lot of people seem to be really, really happy with that, especially those people who were at the track. They felt that they had gone all out and done a good job with promoting it. A lot of billboards promoting the racing and everything else. So that part I thought was great as well.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that from the track presentation aspect of the track. Worldwide Technology Raceway certainly did do their part in as far as the hosting track. One thing you say that, and I thought about it as you said it, of Christopher Bell thinking he had the best car, just strategy didn't play his way or whatever. But so, in my opinion, Bubba Wallace did. So sometimes we see it where, and I'll go back to the Xfinity on that side, be like, well, we know we had the third or fourth best car. Nobody was going to touch Connor Zilisch. To hear each team be saying, hey, I think we had the best car, it just didn't work out. Again, goes back to that top level competitiveness when you're talking about the Cup Series. Honestly, again, maybe didn't hear that from him or see it, but Joey Logano had a very strong run, which we knew or figured that Penske would. Ryan Blaney, even with the situation he had, came back to finish fourth. Chase Briscoe also involved in one, come back to finish second. So here again, obviously there was passes being made. I don't want to hear you can't pass, because these guys had to go to the back and come through the field. So
forward.
Yeah, I thought there were several cars that had strong cars. So then it does become of whether it be on strategy or how cautions play out and if they got a short run car, long run car and whatnot, I think is a good thing and mixes it up. And you don't get that one car is dominant and runs away with it, laps people and whatnot. So I like that aspect to it. But overall, I feel like it is very competitive. And then you got John Hunter Nemechek, who, again, they're having some great days, good to great. Let's see, he ended up 6th. He was up in there mixing it up. Did he have the best car gonna win the race? I think he still needed that little bit of help, but he was in the top 5 mixing it up.
Yeah, I did hear some people talking, and I was real pleased to hear this on Sirius XM today, because it's something that I've said all along. It's not supposed to be easy when you're in NASCAR's top tier of racing. It's supposed to be difficult. You and I aren't supposed to be able to go into that race and win it. So it's intended to be more difficult because it's the top premier series of the sport. So I don't think I'd enjoy it as much if it was easy. I think I like seeing the drivers struggle and have to deal with pressure and how to overcome the difficulties that happen in racing. So I think it's good that it's not easy and that they have to work at it.
I was going to say, I thought I had the answer right away, but it could be one or two people. You're either listening to Dave Moody, who was my first thought, or Larry McReynolds. Larry McReynolds likes to say something similar to that anyway, that, at the top level, it shouldn't be a runaway or gimme every week. Once in a while you have that car or setup that hits, but week in and week out, it should be tough. So yeah, it's either Dave Moody or Larry McReynolds that you were listening to there on Sirius XM.
I couldn't quite remember because I listened to all the shows today. It might have been Pete Pistone even, but I know I heard them talking about it today on one of those shows, and I had to giggle a little bit because it's something that I've been saying.
Yeah, okay. I'm not saying I haven't never heard them, but yeah, no, Moody and McReynolds like to use that a lot. I can't say I've never heard the morning show use it, but they don't harp on it. It seems like Dave Moody.
Not.
Dave Moody. I know it does. That's why when you said it, I was like, I know who you were listening to. But yeah. I say it could have been Larry McReynolds. He's another one that gets on that when people start talking about how hard it is.
Yes, yes. And so I know that we're going to talk about a couple of things that came up. I keep alluding to that. We've got a whole list there that's posted for everybody. And so if anybody wants to participate and give us your thoughts, we'd sure like to hear from you. Anything else you want to say about the racing at WWT Raceway?
Not as far as the racing itself. Like I said, I thought it was good. I thought, you mentioned the facility and the what they present, and we've seen a lot of tracks. I would say improve on that. I would have to say, as far as a race, Charlotte Motor Speedway and the Coke 600 still kind of ranks up there as the top, but we've seen a lot of other tracks make strides in that. So I thought they did a good job as far as that.
Okay. So what topic do you want to go to next?
Well, you mentioned it, and I don't know if you want to, it looked like there was one specifically listed, but as I put it, of what are the playoff tensions that may carry over: Larson, Blaney, Wallace, Elliott, and Berry. I know there were some discussions post-race. There were some apologies, whether or not they were accepted. I just think of I saw Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney, and they did talk, and they just both walked away. I didn't see a handshake or a nod of agreement. They just all of a sudden both kind of walked away. From what I got from it, Kyle Larson said, "I made a mistake," and Blaney said, "Yeah, you did," and said, saying sorry don't mean nothing, because that one I think really was. The Chase Elliott, Josh Berry, and I know Elliott immediately had sent word of apology for that one. I feel it was more of a racing deal. Kyle Larson can say that was a racing deal, but yeah, he just made a mistake, drove in, couldn't handle the corner, and went up the track and clipped Blaney. Again, was it intentional? Absolutely not. But you didn't do a whole lot to stop it from happening either, in my opinion. So I understand Blaney's frustration on that one. And then I honestly don't know where Bubba Wallace tied into that. Apparently he had some words with Kyle Larson as well. Maybe you can fill me in on that, Sharon.
For Kyle Larson? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it said Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson had some post-race pit road interaction.
Oh, okay. That one I'm not familiar with, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, on the Larson Blaney thing, they did talk. But again, I hate to keep harping on this. How many times do we have to hear Larson say he's sorry? He didn't mean to do it. First time's accident, second time's coincidence, third time it's a habit. And it just seems like this keeps happening with Kyle Larson. And I don't know. I might be the only one that's getting weary of it, but I am getting a little bit weary of it because it does not, and it doesn't matter if it's Blaney, Wallace, Elliott, who it is. If it ruins their day or makes them have to work harder than they should have to work, it's not the right thing. And he just needs to be more conscientious when he's driving on the road. How can he misjudge that many times? He misjudges a lot. I give him credit and kudos for being upfront and honest about it. I don't think he did it intentionally. I'm not saying that he did it intentionally, but I'm saying he's got a lapse of judgment that's happening on the track, and it's not working out well for the competitors. And he seems to be the beneficiary most times. So I have a problem with it. So I think he needs to stop making mistakes. He's supposed to be, I have a hard time saying he's the best driver anymore.
Right.
Because drivers that are good don't do those kind of things. And so, yeah, he takes chances that other people don't take. But is he taking calculated chances that are going to ruin the day for somebody else? And that's what I take an issue with. It shows a lack of respect. And I think he's taken too many chances. I think he needs to temper himself a little bit. So I do have a problem with Larson right now. And I'm not real happy with Hendrick Motorsports in general. So I just, I'm not looking forward to having a Hendrick Motorsports driver in victory lane or being crowned as a champion. As far as Elliott, he also took the blame for it. Another Hendrick Motorsports driver. They'll take the blame for it and own up to their mistake, but they're not sorry enough to stop doing it. And it ruins somebody else's day. And unfortunately, in this case, Barry now has 2 races into the playoffs that he's wrecked out. The first one, I think, was a tire issue in that corner at the track, the first track. And the second one, I think Chase Elliott had a lot to do with it. So I'm not familiar with the Wallace incident.
Yeah, I say, and I don't know that I found anything back on it. Yeah.
It's just eluding me right now.
I didn't see it. I'll see if I can find something else on it here real quick. So while you're finishing up.
Okay. And I feel like I'm the only one harping on what Hendrick Motorsports is doing. But it's leaving a sour taste in my mouth. It really is. And I usually don't complain about, well, there's one driver that I really have complained about, but I usually don't complain about a whole organization like that.
Let's see. Okay. Let me see what this if this pulls up. Yeah, yard blank, and then it referenced Jordan Bianchi. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up here real quick.
Okay.
Exchange words
it's just eluding me right now for some reason. I watched the whole race.
It was reference Bubba Wallace's restart where he didn't go and it affected Kyle Larson. He was explaining it. Okay. Yeah, that restart, okay. Yes. So it was just Bubba saying, "I feel bad because this is what happened." Okay.
Oh, okay. And that was with Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson was one of the cars right in line behind him that it affected when they get the accordion effect.
Yeah, I think that's just one of those racing things. If Bubba Wallace, he had a problem with the gear panel or the gear shifting, and there's not a lot that can be said about that. I don't think he did that intentionally. It causes an accordion effect when something like that happens. But he told everybody what it was and what happened. I've got a doggy here that's wanting my attention.
Oh, yeah. So, with that, Sharon, I know you said you feel like you're the only one, and you're entitled to that. I may not agree with it 100%, but I understand where you're coming from, especially, like you said, the pre-race inspection or the making adjustments after pre-race inspection. There certainly, I think, should be something maybe done about that as far as, hey, you're having this every week. What we're penalizing you isn't sending enough of a message. We're going to crack down a little bit harder and make the penalty a little more. So I understand that, and I understand your desire to not have somebody that's had that throughout the year be the champion. But on the track, and I go back to the Chase Elliott deal, that was one where they were racing side by side, the air, whatever it was, Chase Elliott came up, clipped him. Yeah, he's one that, again, didn't control his car. And I've seen that normally that's the situation with Larson. So then the question is, well, do you put yourself in that position and, like you said, show some respect of not keep letting that happen? On this one with Larson, like I said, and the broadcasters are saying the same thing, as there is no answer. From what I heard in his post race, he said, well, he had taken that line the lap before and it stuck, and this time it didn't. I mean, he came from, what they say, like 5-6 car lengths back. And yeah, it really did look like he just drove straight in, too deep, too hard, too fast. It didn't stick, and he went up the track, and Blaney was there. Yeah, that one from that far back, there isn't really an excuse of, well, the air pressure around the cars, they're too close. It takes the air off one and they lose it. Yeah, I got nothing for him on this particular one. Some of the others in the past, I could say, you get a little close and bobble a little bit and it causes this. Yeah, that one was just, like I said, to me, overdrove the corner, just way too deep. And whether Blaney was there or not, if he'd have taken himself out, I'd have said the same thing. You did it yourself. In this case, there just happened to be a car there. So maybe so. And I know we've talked about that. It seems like his finishes anyway and luck have not been the same since the Indy double, which did not work out, and that maybe he's trying too hard and too aggressive. I did notice that he had pulled out of a Super 8 cars in Australia later in the year, and I think Austin Cindric that's now going to go down there.
Cindric. Yeah.
And there was something made of that, of whether it was Kyle Larson that said it or people are projecting that he doesn't want to do this outside racing deal anymore after the Indy double didn't work like he had wanted. I don't know exactly, but there again, there's little bits here and there that maybe it is that he's got too much going on and trying too hard. I don't know. I guess he'd have to be the one to answer that as far as that. But yeah, I feel bad for Barry. But again, the previous week was his own doing or his team's own doing, like you said, of low tire pressure to start. He bottomed out, especially on the seam, I guess, as you put it at Darlington, and it looped it around on lap 1. So sometimes that's the case of, again, you don't want to see it on a regular basis, but it certainly has, as if he was already in a hole, if you will, when the playoffs started as the bottom driver when it comes to that.
But
so
this
certainly,
was not of his own doing.
Right. And I don't know that they had that super strong car. I'm trying to think where they were running at the time of the incident. I want to say maybe in the teens, but certainly better than where he finished, by all means.
Yes, indeed. And again, I don't think Larson's doing those things intentionally, but I think he has lost some of his focus and everything that's affecting his racing. So, and maybe it is the outside racing that's causing him to lose that focus that allows him to he's always been a wheelman, he's always been able to handle his car, and it just seems like he's struggling with that this time, this season especially. And I get tired of the apology and no change, I guess, is the point that I'm getting to. If you're sincerely sorry, then don't do those things anymore.
Right.
I guess that's where I'm coming from. So especially if you're the best in the business, you need to stop doing those kind of things. But you're right. It's really serious with the penalties as well. And I hope that they stop doing that sort of thing, because it's not a good look for the sport. So anything else we need to say here?
And the more I look at these again, it sounded like, like with Blaney, he may not have necessarily bought the I'm sorry. There wasn't as much tension as I thought there might be. I mean, Blaney on the radio, and especially during the race, he was quite livid. You could tell he was controlling his tongue and mouth. I wondered whether or not any of that would carry over into the next week as we go to Bristol, of all places, next week. I don't know that I see any of this then being a carryover, but
I think they had an adult conversation.
Yeah, agree to disagree. You say you're sorry, but like you said, I'm tired of hearing it and tired of happening type situation. So, the intensity level, it's Bristol is going to amp up. It is the cutoff race of the round. level is going to ramp up. It may be that some of it of recalling what happened last week comes up during it. But like I said, I don't know that I feel like anybody's going into Bristol with like, hey, I owe this dude one.
Right. And I don't think Blaney is that kind of driver anyway. I've never seen him do retaliation. He reminds me a lot of Martin Truex Jr. I don't think Martin Truex Jr. was that type of driver either that would retaliate. He'd want to have the conversation and try to establish the fact I don't want that to happen again. So, you know, be careful when you're driving around me. And hopefully Blaney has set that expectation with Larson. But somewhere along the line, Larson has to make the decision just to not drive like that because it's not working out for others.
Right.
Okay. Let's go with, we talked about Ryan Blaney versus Kyle Larson. So that's kind of the same thing. What about the Trackhouse Racing post-race scrutiny? Your thoughts about that?
All right. With
what happened there?
No, I was going to say with that I think it was about 7 o'clock when I actually got to finish watching the last of the race, and the recording ran long. So there was a couple of interviews and then they moved on. But so tell me what it was about.
Yeah, this is from an article from Matt Weaver. And he said a pair of Trackhouse Racing drivers have faced scrutiny overnight following the NASCAR Cup Series race on Sunday at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and it may warrant a closer look from the sanctioning body itself. During the cool-down lap, both Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen drifted up the track up against the wall and then through the grass while transitioning onto the emergency lane that leads to pit road. In real time and right behind him, Hendrick Motorsports driver Alex Bowman observed the behavior and drew attention to it from those listening in via scanner or radio chatter appreciation. And then also John Newby posted, MacBook keeps freezing, so here's a grainier video of Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen going through the grass multiple times coming to pit road after the race. And then he says, hey, the Trackhouse cars are driving through the grass. That's kind of cool, Bowman said as he keyed up his microphone. Draw your own conclusions from what he meant by cool. NASCAR has yet to make a public response to the matter, but with competition meetings scheduled for Tuesday morning, not to mention the likes of Cup Series Managing Director Brad Moran or SVP competition of competition Elton Sawyer being made available to SiriusXM Radio every Tuesday, you can be on the lookout for some additional clarification. Without making a formal accusation, driving through the rubber marbles or onto the dirt is a familiar motorsports tactic for drivers when they need additional weight before any post-race inspection, as marbles stick to the hot tires and dirt clumps could also add meaningful weight. Another, Corey LaJoy posted, they post all playoff cars trying to pick up a couple of pounds of grass, rocks, rubber to let your car chief feel a little better when you roll across the scale. Okay, so it didn't, Chastain and Van Gisbergen finished 24th and 25th respectively, but were required to undergo inspection since they're both playoff drivers. They left the second race of the first round 19 points above and 15 points below the cut line respectively. So that's what they were up to. What does it mean?
Conjecture, possible. I can't think of the word now. There's a question of it. I will say this, of generally anytime a driver or team, especially being that it was two cars, does something, there is an intentionality to it. It's not just an accident. Whether or not it was for that, and honestly, when it comes to asphalt tracks, I had never heard of such a thing. But I will say this, and I think I've talked about it. I don't know about on Hot Topics, but on other shows, certainly on a dirt track car, that is. I won't say his name. I want to, but I won't. And everybody knew it. Yeah, he would run the high line and up against the wall and cross the checkered flag and go right to the bottom and into the muck. And everybody knew it. And, that was the thing. Could have had 30, 40 more wins than what he had in his career because he often got DQ'd for being light. So, yeah, the fact that somebody else observed it and it's a possibility, I think that
more
NASCAR.
than one person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's generally the case of how it happens is your competitors are the ones watching you. NASCAR doesn't have to watch because the competitors be like, hey, look at them. And that's okay. I have no problem with that. And if there is something to it, I think NASCAR should address it, whether or not they can prove it in this incident. If nothing else, they're going to be like, hey, we're watching you. Whatever you did, be real careful about doing it again because we are watching. And I think back to the, I think it was Ryan Newman at the time with RCR and the pinholes in the tire. Yeah. And that's one I'm trying to figure out who saw what to even possibly, it took them a long time to figure out what it was, how they were doing it and how to even prove it, and catch it. So, like I said, can they do anything on this race?
The tire and see if
right?
it bubbles.
Yep. Well, but no, if you remember, it was an issue because it wouldn't do it with just the tire sitting there. It was when it got up to speed because it was such a low pressure. It was the tire had to build up the pressure at speed for it to do it. That was why they were fairly certain it was being done, but they couldn't prove it because they'd take the tire after the race, but by then it had cooled off and dropped in air pressure. So, like I said, do I think they can do anything just based on that observation after this race? Probably not. But say, hey, we saw what you did. We know it might be this. You better dang sure not get caught in the wrong because we're on to it, and leave it at that. But yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I thought you
were like I said, I don't see where even off of that possibility, unless they scraped, this amount off the tire and then checked them again, that after this one incident that you could say, hey, we're gonna penalize. Because like I said, to me, there's no real proof of that's what they were doing and why. But certainly say, hey, we saw what you did. It appears to be this. We're going to be watching. And if we have to scrape off your tires and knock that dirt and grass and marbles off and have you weigh again and you're illegal, you're going to get hurt. It's going to cost you.
Well, and ever since the Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus thing where he told him to make sure he backed
cracked it. Yep. Cracked. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I've had a problem with the burnouts. I think sometimes they overdo the burnouts for a specific reason as well. And if it was up to me, I wouldn't allow burnouts anymore for that reason. I would say you come directly to victory lane and that's it. Or we'll pick up the car and take it to victory lane and inspect it before it goes to victory lane. Something along those lines, because I do think that some of that goes on even with the burnouts. Because they burn the tires off of that thing.
Right, and there isn't, and I would hate to see it come to that, that NASCAR says no burnouts or, whatever, and if you do pop the tire, you're going to lose your win or whatever. Because I enjoy the fact that some drivers choose to celebrate in that way. But I understand NASCAR's position of, hey, it has happened. We know it. We've heard it. Like you said, there was a mistake of kind of audibleizing it. So if they were to say, hey, don't do it, you can't, I understand it. I don't want to see it come to that, but I understand if it does. Think about that even of, okay, the victory of not necessarily a burnout, but the slide through the grass. How do we know they're not picking up weight?
Yeah.
same thing. So you're right. And that's where normally I would say I don't want to get into this conspiracy theory action. No, there's been some proven things that, again, did this driver intentionally do it or just having fun? Think back to Dale Earnhardt. He did his 3 in the infield grass. And that's why I said I don't want to see him take that away from a celebrating driver, but one's going to ruin it for everybody if they feel it is an intentional thing to manipulate or get away with something. So yeah, I could understand it. Like I said, if NASCAR has to step in, I won't like it, but I could understand it for that reason.
And obviously, whatever they were trying, if the weight was off on the car, it wasn't working for them. They didn't have that great of finishes. So,
well, but that's what, if it truly was the weight issue, and you're wondering why, what did you say, 19th and 20th was where they finished, in that range, but they are still playoff cars, so they have to go through an inspection. Normally, you wouldn't necessarily have to go through inspection, finishing back there. They have to go through an inspection, and whatever points they got is better than 0 if they get DQ'd. So, and I do like the fact that even though you finish 20th, if you're a playoff car, you are going through inspection.
Yes, I think every playoff car should go through inspection. They finished 24th and 25th.
Yeah. So yeah, was it an advantage as far as speed in the race? No, but they also want to take 24th points over 0 for a DQ.
Right. You got that right.
I think back to one too, and this is one where had somebody just said something, hey, I think these guys are cheating when they're jacking the tire changer and carrier is messing with the car, I'd have been like, no. But that one was caught on video. Do you remember when they were hip checking the car? When they pulled the tire and hip checking the car to put a dent in the car and make it. And I was like, I mean, yeah, it was clear. There was no reason for him to have bumped into that car. He didn't lose his balance. You watch it after 3 stops. He was doing it every time. It's like, man, there again, like I said, if somebody had told me that, I'd be like, dude, you're just going to make stuff up just because it's not your favorite driver. No, there was clear intention there. Now, how much it helps in, as far as aerodynamics and whatnot, I don't know. But they obviously felt it did and were doing it with intention. So, yeah, I was like, wow. Would I have noticed that or thought anything of it? Nope. But.
Yeah.
And unfortunately.
They do it that way. They're trying to be casual about it or supposedly,
And I think back to. I think back to, and this is one again of now you got to be that kind of careful. And unfortunately, it supports your feelings of Hendrick Motorsports. When they first came with the claw, like across the hood, and it had to touch 4 points. NASCAR's hood was legal because it touched the 4 points of the claw. But if you looked at it from straight on, it dipped and it rose back up to hit the claw. It dipped and it rose back up to hit the claw. And I was like, seriously, guys, come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they still got penalized and the rules got changed and everything else. And it's like, so, yeah, are they beyond doing things like this? What was the other one? Oh, putting something under the wrap where they put the sticker and then wrap the car thinking it covered it up and it got caught. I was like, wow, y'all are spending way, you know what? Just find a better way to make speed. You know what I'm saying? Go faster.
Yeah. They're looking for every little advantage they can find. But it makes the car illegal.
Yep.
So you got to go with that. All right.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, this might be one where NASCAR says, hey, you got away with one there possibly, but you won't again. Like I said, they may not be able to penalize them this time, but say, hey, you won't get away with it a second time.
Yeah, there you go. All right. What's our next one?
Let's see. Talked about both of those tensions. Okay. We'll go right into talked about Bristol being the, I can get back up there. There we go. Bristol being now the cut race, and who's in and who's out is how I put it. The 4 that are below the line: Austin Dillon, Shane Van Gisbergen, Alex Bowman, and Josh Berry. Let's see, 2009. Let's see, Austin Cindric, the cut line at 254. Dillon is 11 points back. Shane Van Gisbergen is 4 more points, so that's 15. Alex Bowman at 2019 is a lot more than that, 11, 14, 34. And then Josh Berry, 44. So getting, with the exception.
Cindric above or below?
Cindric is the cut line. He is 12th place at 54 points.
And it's Dillon. Who else?
Van Gisbergen, Alex Bowman, and Josh Berry.
Okay.
So, yeah, 11, 15, 20 points is 35 and 45.
Who's the fourth driver that's below? I've got Dillon, Van Gisbergen, Josh Berry.
And Alex Bowman.
Oh, Alex Bowman. Okay, I'm just typing this up for the board.
Yep. Okay, so with that, when I look at it, Dillon with 11 points, that's a doable points battle, as well as Shane Van Gisbergen at 15 points. That is an easy, manageable do. I think Alex Bowman and Josh Berry, while it may not be mathematical, are pretty much in a must-win at 35 and 45 points. They would certainly need a lot of help, even if they were to max points. When I look at it as a whole, this isn't surprising, and it almost seems right, if I could use that word. Austin Dillon, Shane Van Gisbergen were not in the top 16 in points. They had the wins that brought them in. Shane Van Gisbergen, although he improved, was 19th or 20th somewhere, but had the 3 wins and had the bonus points. Same with Austin Dillon, getting his win at Richmond locked him in. Josh Berry got his win early in the year, was somewhere in the 20th something in points, but the win carried him in. Alex Bowman is the one that was on the points cut line and got in by the skin of his teeth. So those 4 being the 4 that are in jeopardy here going into this final race, not surprising. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's where they were, honestly. And that's the way the playoff system should really honestly work. Again, Shane Van Gisbergen, and I hate to pick on him, but the road course wins, got him in, got him some bonus points, and again, he used them up. Now here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, he was having a solid 20th, 19th teens run, had worked his way back into the teens, and then had an incident and ended up finishing, 25th. So again, was that going to be enough? It probably cost him 10 points, which would still leave him 5 or 6 points out. The bonus points he got, he's burning up because he is not quite yet there when it comes to racing on ovals. So what he got in those bonus points wasn't quite enough to carry him. And all these people that were concerned about that you shouldn't have somebody win the championship that can only win on a road course. I didn't want to be the one to point it out, but you're not going to. I'm just like, that's not going to. And he knows that. The team knows that. It's a matter of, can they get farther into the playoffs as he looks to improve on oval tracks. Now, I will tell you this, next year, look for him to be stronger. And we've seen it already. Like I said, he was running somewhere in the mid to high teens, I think, when he had his incident. Was that alone going to carry him into the next round? Probably not. He's got to be closer to the front of the top 10, top 5, and he's just not there yet. So for all those people that were so worried about him somehow ruining the playoffs by winning a championship and not being able to win on ovals, didn't happen. And it's not over yet, but, like I said, 14 points, he could still actually point his way in, but, as we say, the cream's going to rise to the top. It'll work itself out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I would say Austin Dillon and Shane Van Gisbergen could actually point their way back into the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to do it at Bristol. I just don't think either one of them have good results at Bristol. So I think you're right. I think it's playing out as it should play out with how they ran throughout the season. So Shane Van Gisbergen was great on the road courses. He did have a few highlights at this race at WWT Raceway. Like you say, he was running up in the teens, out just outside the top 10 in a few instances. But and I think he has improved on ovals. I think he'll be better next year on the ovals. So we'll see what happens next season. But as far as the playoffs, I think it's working out the way it should. Those drivers that struggled throughout the season are the drivers that are below the cut line at this point and will probably not advance into the round of 12. Now, they could surprise us at Bristol. Bristol's been known to be a race of survival, survival of the fittest, if you will, those who can survive at Bristol. But I think there's enough drivers that are pretty proficient at Bristol that these guys are not in that category.
And even when you look above that, then that was the cut line, those who were below it, the ones that are right next to it, Austin Cindric is the cut line, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott. You look at those drivers. Yes, they had a win each. Yeah, each one of them had one win. But were they top 5, top 10 every week? No. And guess what? They're the ones at the bottom half of 8th through 12th then, and the next in line. When you look at your multiple race winners, with the exception of Tyler Reddick, they're up at the top. You know, Denny Hamlin, 5 wins. Chase Briscoe, 2. Kyle Larson, 3. Bubba Wallace, 1. And he's another one I'll come back to. Blaney with 2 is in 5th. 6th is William Byron with 2. Christopher Bell with 3 is up at 8th. So there again, that's carrying through. If they were inconsistent throughout the season, that's carrying through. Yeah, they're better than they were. Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, they, in my opinion, found speed and momentum at the right time. Were they strong all year? No, but they did turn it on as you neared the playoffs and thus carried it into the playoffs. So that's a matter of, if you're going to get it right at the right time.
Yes, indeed. And I think, that's the benefit of having a team owner like Denny Hamlin, because Denny obviously has something up his sleeve as well. And it's Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs Racing right now seems to be the top contender for the championship. With the first 2 races in the books, both of them are Joe Gibbs Racing drivers. Chase Briscoe finished first last week. He's second this week. Denny Hamlin is first this week. So they are really running very strongly. And if you look at that top 8 list, there are 5 Toyotas in the top 8 drivers. So Toyota is really the strongest manufacturer in the playoffs right now.
Well, and to add to that, of you're talking about Joe Gibbs Racing, Christopher Bell had his 3 wins actually in a row early in the season and then had kind of disappeared. He too, like you said, is running back where he was at the right time as we entered the playoffs. I hadn't made the connection there that it was the strength of Joe Gibbs Racing, but I think you're right. And then going to the manufacturer of Toyota, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick right there with him. Because again, remember, Tyler Reddick was actually on the cut line with Alex Bowman as far as even making it into the playoffs. Now, we're not used to seeing that from Tyler Reddick, as he was a championship 4 driver last year. But I think we're seeing it of, hey, we got our stuff together and it's time to go. And you're doing it at the right time.
Absolutely. So we'll see what continues to happen, but I think that's a very telling story at this stage anyway, to have those 5 Toyotas in the top 8. And we'll see what happens. There's 2 Chevys and only 1 Ford in that top 8. So that's kind of surprising, because Ford usually shows up as we get closer to the championship 4.
And that's a trend. You're right. We've seen that. And again, Ryan Blaney had a solid, decent run. I don't know if I'd call it a solid, but Joey Logano back in the mix as well. And then Austin
Well, he
Cindric.
rallied.
Right.
Ryan Blaney did rally from being behind to get a fourth place finish.
Yep. So in the finish itself, am I looking at that right? Yeah. Blaney fourth, Joey Logano fifth. As far as just at worldwide technology. And again, that lends to, well, it's not at. Yeah, it's at Phoenix. The championship, this is the final year at Phoenix.
Yes.
They go to Homestead next year. Okay. So, and we've seen that in the past, of that may be a Penske / Ford track. So, going to be interesting for sure. But like I said, this is one of those I feel like those who were worried that it was going to be a undeserving champion because of road course wins. That's why I didn't respond at that time, because I knew this would prove itself out when it was time.
It usually does.
Exactly.
Yeah, it usually does. So I think you're right about that. All right. You want to pick the next one then?
Well, since you mentioned it, and he is coming off of a win, and you said something about earlier, is this Denny Hamlin's year? Can he finish it off and get that championship? Well, with that, there was some questions of retirement. And his statement was he wanted to retire while he was still running good and winning. And he did make a comment about it. He is under contract, and I guess it's 80 races is how he worded it. But his contract runs through 2027, which is 20 races, 8 left this year and 36 for the next 2 years. That it's probably his last contract. However, if he were to win the championship this year, would he consider, hey, I'm going to go out on top, I'm done? That's an interesting thought. I don't see it. I just, and again, I know he had a year not too long ago that he went winless. Even if 2027 comes around, I don't think we're seeing Denny Hamlin to where he's not competitive and have the fire and whatnot. I'm not even sure if I see him retiring in 2027, and I think he'd be 47 years old then. That one's at least in the range, but even if he wins the championship this year, I honestly just don't see him willing to pull the trigger and say, I'm going out on top and walking away. But who knows? Always, as always, he's at least bringing conversation and focus to himself and the situation. And I'm okay with that, because it is a possibility without a doubt. Do I see it? No. I think we're going to, I don't want to be rude, but I think we're stuck with Denny Hamlin for a while longer yet.
Well, he did talk about it, I guess, in the post-race interviews. And he said he signed a 2-year agreement with Joe Gibbs Racing that would take him through 2027. So next year and the following year. And then he did make the comment about if he won the championship this year, what better way to go out than with that championship. But after signing that agreement, I would think he would want to finish that. I just got a performance issue notice and now I lost it. Let me see. Okay, I don't know what happened to it. But anyway, I don't think he would retire after this season either. I think since he signed that 2-year agreement, I think he would continue on to fulfill his agreement with Joe Gibbs Racing and finish that out. But it would be a good way for him to go out. A lot of people, when I talked to Sal about this earlier, he said he shoots himself in the foot every year. I don't see this being any difference. And he got out of his car being real cocky with the fans again in his, immediate post-race interview. So I don't know. He's been rather quiet this year. So for him to do that at that particular point in time, somebody made the comparison. Can you imagine Mark Martin getting out and talking to the fans the way that Denny Hamlin does? he would not be as popular as he is, I think, had he done that. So it's a different personality. So
it isn't. And the funny thing is some fans do resonate with that. I know right now it seems like Hamlin's egging it on, but think about it. Kyle Busch, Rowdy went through that
yep.
in his
Yep.
stage, Darrell Waltrip, Jaws, I think of some of these other drivers. So it is still an overall. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's a personality thing. You either like them or you don't. You like the fact that they're a little cocky or you don't. As far as that I don't even necessarily hold that against him. I mean, honestly, when he got out and said I just beat them all or beat your favorite driver, all of them, I thought that was a great response. Again, I'm not necessarily a Denny Hamlin fan overall, but that honestly, as just an answer, I thought was a great answer. You know what I mean?
It was humorous, I will say that.
Yeah. So, a little bit antagonistic. Now, like I said, and I think of the WWE when it comes to this, once you decided to truly embrace the heel or bad guy, if you will, to be in Texas and do the horns down, again, that's just asking for that. And that's where I think maybe cross that line a little bit more so of, okay, you're just trying to piss the fans off. Not just making a funny offhand comment when it comes to that. So, like, I think Kevin Harvick is one that, you saw he would make comments about, whether it be Austin Dillon and the silver spoon or whatever, that offhand comment, okay, it's humorous. Again, then it's whether or not you like them as a person and as a driver. Whereas I think right now, Denny Hamlin may be trying a little too hard to embrace that role and irritate or aggravate the fans, but it also seems to be working. His podcast, seems to be real popular. So it's working.
I will say this. Nobody can dispute Denny Hamlin's stats. He has been a very successful race car driver. So.
And I don't know if you caught it, Sharon, or if you've seen the article and already know where I'm going, that there was an intentional, or not by name, but if you do the stats and track it down, that he took a shot at Joey Logano, talking about not having a championship, but 59 wins versus a driver who has, a championship or two, even three, but only X number of wins. And if you do that and study it, it points to Joey Logano. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, things like that. Like you mentioned it before, Kevin Harvick, when it came playoff time, he was using mental warfare, in between weeks. I can't rough you up and beat you out on the track. I'm going to do it via this, in between.
In your head.
Exactly. So, and that's one of those of what you said, Sal said. I think Denny's in a different place this year, honestly, because I think in the past, I think some of these things would have been distracting him, whereas now he's playing into it and embracing it. And he certainly has the on-track performance to back it up, which he has in the past, and then, blown it or shot himself in the foot, however you want to put it. So could I see, and I've said it in the past, could he win? Yeah, he's got the stats to have done it several times, like we talked about. But we've also seen Kevin Harvick, and this will maybe lead into the Connor Zilisch question. Kevin Harvick have 9-10 wins in the regular season.
Yes.
I don't even know if he showed up at all to come to playoff races, wasn't there by any means. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything when it comes to that. Denny Hamlin is at least here in round one, backing it up.
Well, and I think, I think Connor Zilisch could continue on through the playoffs, but we'll have to wait and see. He's been strong all season long. It hasn't been, and especially since his incident at Talladega, and then to break a collarbone in the middle of all of this as well and continue to win. Now, he did acknowledge that his 4 straight wins, he has to give some of that credit to Parker Kligerman because he filled in for him for one of those 4 races. But Connor Zilisch is credited with that victory. But getting back to Denny Hamlin and his retirement and whether or not he'll make the playoffs, I do think that even if he wins the championship this year, and I think it is a possibility for him this year, I think that he will stay with Joe Gibbs Racing to honor the contract that he has with them.
Yeah, and that being a situation, I know it was coming to mind of when would you not honor a contract of Carl Edwards, I think, when he opted to. Now, there was a little bit different outlook of that. He wasn't trying to leave while he was on top of his game. He felt maybe things were getting a little risky, and he wanted to step away while still in his prime, but not just strictly for that. There was the other concern of safety. So, yeah, I would think too of, like you said, even if he does win, and it would be an awesome, and you want to see that again. I would anyway. Favorite driver or not, favorite team or not, when you have something like that culminate to where you're going to retire. And I'm thinking, what is it, John Elway in the NFL that got to go out after winning a Super Bowl. You want to see that. Honestly, like I said, if Denny Hamlin were to be questionable for next year, win the championship this year, and then walk away, I think that is great for an athlete to be able to walk off as champion at the top of their game. So, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it, whoever it is, but that's just me too.
Okay. Did you see anything, and I was just looking for it here, about Hamlin and his wife expecting a fourth child?
That I can't say. I'm trying to think who, there's been a couple of them I know that we're having more. Brad Keselowski, they just had one. I don't remember.
Okay. I thought I saw something about it. I see Chris is in the green room now.
Chris. In the green room?
He's getting ready to here. So I'm going to bring him into the queue. Hey, Chris.
My room is blue when I'm in it. How come he gets a green one? No, I'm just kidding. What's up, Chris?
We can't hear you, Chris. Are you?
He doesn't have his glasses on. Yeah, he's looking for the volume button. He doesn't have his glasses on.
I can't see anything. Please don't have me read anything.
That was obvious. You're like,
what's this?
Yeah. So I've got my right here, but I can't really see with these. I'll have to go get my other ones. But yeah, I'm just jumping in. Hopefully, I won't have to read anything, and I can just see y'all's blurry faces.
Okay. Well, we're up to Hamlin is talking about retirement in 2 years. Will he or not? And your thoughts about his post-race comments in the media center.
Yeah, well, I think we all know that 44 years old is, as an athlete, okay. Look, back in the 90s, the 80s, you had Cale Yarborough and of course, Harry Gant. We even seen Mark Martin there in, the middle 2000s do extraordinary things at the age of 50. I honestly, as Dale Jr. is probably the perfect example. Like I said a few years ago, Dale Jr. seemed to be this ageless character that, just was never going to get it. There we go. I can see y'all. He was this ageless character that never seemed to get old. He was always going to be known as Junebug. And then over the last year, since he's turned 50, we've seen the progression of age. And I think that as Denny Hamlin works towards 45 and 46 years old, things just don't work like they used to. And the amount of training and mental capacity that you have to be an elite stock car driver in the NASCAR Cup Series, the day and age of Cale Yarborough is over with, right? And Harry Gant, it's just not not possible. And so he's got a 2-year deal left with Joe Gibbs Racing. I really feel, when 2311 first come along a couple of years ago, I thought, hey, wait a minute. He's put the 11 on the end of 23. That means he's going to wind up taking the 11 car from Joe Gibbs' stable, and he's going to transfer it over to 2311. That's why the name was come up with that, right? I guess that's what we all thought. But in actuality, I think that we're to the point now where once this deal is over with in the final 2 years of that contract, Denny's, whether he's got a championship or not, he's going to hang it up. And, Kevin Harvick, we heard rumors that Kevin was interested in maybe doing something different. It took about 2 years for that to come to fruition. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he come in and raced his own team for 1 year, but as it looks right now, he may not even have a team. So I'm not.
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
Okay.
I don't know who's winning that lawsuit right now. I don't think anybody's winning it, but that's a
right.
totally different story. Yes, Father Time is undefeated. He will succumb to the age factor, as many others have, and where he's at in position in his career, closing in on 60 wins, 3 Daytona 500s, countless short track, intermediate, super speedway wins. He is a definite Hall of Famer. Look, enjoy the next 2 years, Denny. Hang it up and go be a boss. And let's see the Tony Stewart side,
I want to jump in here, Sharon, if I may. Chris, you brought some very interesting points. I'm glad you're here. When you think about it, talking about the older generations there's several things to look at. In that day and age, they were trying to make enough money to retire on, so they had to keep racing past 50. You were also racing against other 50-year-olds. Now you're 50 and you're racing against 18, 19, and 20-year-olds.
Right.
As well as you've been doing it for longer. In that era, you didn't get to the Cup Series until you were 30 years old. So, you put 20 years in, you had to go to 50 or whatever, versus again now, if you're coming in at age 18 or 19, you're at the top level and hitting age 40 and already been doing it at the top level for 20 years. So there was a lot of things that you brought forth there in what you said that I think come into play. As you said, that age of, when they do step away has increasingly come down. 45, I'd say, is kind of where drivers at least start looking now versus it used to be 55 or maybe even 60. Again, you're going to have some that do before or after that. I'm just saying average wise. But yeah, I think you're looking at age, and I'm trying to think. I know Harvick was in that window, Jeff Gordon. But again, in this day and age, they've made the money, and they've been there for 20, 30 years already, so it's time.
Yeah, I don't see him going beyond the 2 years, though. The 2-year timeline that he's given himself, or the 2-year countdown, however you want to look at that. I think that he will honor that contract with Joe Gibbs. Okay, now we also talked about the racing at St. Louis.
Hold on. I do want to emphasize something, if I may. The key factor there is being the money. Dick Trickle was riding around smoking in race cars, making pennies on a dollar, right?
Dick Trickle.
When Conor McGregor fought, who was it? Floyd Mayweather. And it was like $100 million. There was something that a sports broadcaster really, slapped me with at the time. And he said, we may be seeing the end of the era by Conor McGregor. And the other constituent was like, well, what do you mean? Like, this is the epic part of his career. He's going to make $100 million for a fight. And he said, but $100 million changes people. And once you make that kind of money, you may not have the work ethic behind it to get there again. And I'm not saying that that's not the case. Actually, quite the contrary. We may see drivers racing longer because they're not as valued anymore as what a Denny Hamlin has been valued. You look at where Dave Blaney and some of these other drivers that just rode around in Cup Series cars, they made a lot of money in a really short time. The drivers that are coming up now, they're struggling to make money. There's not as much money being floated around within the Cup Series garage as what it used to be. Will you see that drivers will race longer? I'm not sure. I think that could kind of go either way, but it was definitely a key factor, noticing that drivers of Denny Hamlin's era made a lot of money, and so they retired fairly early. Like, it's not surprising anymore to see a 31 or 34-year-old retire in other sports, typically racing, somewhere between the ages of 40 and 50. And honestly, it could have probably gone down even more than that if drivers continued to make a boatload of money. But now that their money's kind of dried up, it will be interesting to see how long a Tyler Reddick is willing to race, how long some of these newcomers, Bubba Wallace even, how long he's willing to race. Because, when these guys start their careers at 14 and 15 years old, they don't really know anything else to do. So if they haven't got a lot of money put up, then you expect them to race. Look at Scott Bloomquist. We can make our theories of why Scott Bloomquist did what he did, or how that situation come about. It's a terrible, if you don't have certain money put back and you're used to always being on top. Those are kind of hard things to deal with. I'm not speculating that would be the cause for the reports of what we heard about with Scott Bloomquist. But there again, you have to think that there's somewhere in there, it has to be a factor.
Well, and I've even heard rumors with Connor Zilisch of him, if he's successful in Xfinity, moves on to Cup Series, and let's say he struggles or he's super successful there, and it's not a challenge for him like it is for others, that he may move on to F1 or something like that. So even stuff like that could happen with some of these younger drivers, because he's seen a great deal of success very early in age here in NASCAR. So we'll see what happens. Do you want to comment on any of the other topics that we've had? For instance, how was the racing at St. Louis?
I mean, it was all right. Yeah, it was better. Like, I think that we are getting somewhere with the tire package. I think that we didn't watch a boring race. That's good. It didn't have an it factor. It really did. Probably the biggest takeaway from it was Larson
Strategy.
once again getting in over his head and causing, hitting a chase driver. I've heard a lot about this playoff driver stuff. I think Christopher Bell has gone really far into it. Like, you're supposed to race a playoff driver different than you race the rest of the field. I kind of have issues with that. It will lead to boring racing if that's what we're going to do here. But all in all, I mean, look, Gateway. St. Louis, I think, was oversaid during the broadcast, and it was Illinois that was actually doing all of the sponsorship. So let's call it Gateway. Put on a terrific show. They put on a terrific show. I would much rather have a semi competitive race at Gateway than a road course race or a place where you just don't get very good racing, like a Pocono or a New Hampshire or something like that. We really had a lot of good racing throughout the pack, and that's a plus. That's what we want to have. We want to have passing. We want to have a little bit of ruckus go on.
And there was a lot of strategy playing out. Everybody was on a different pit road strategy and so forth as well. So I enjoy that part of it as well. What about the Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson incident? And I know, Jay, bear with me here while we let
No, that's fine. He already took the gloves off when he took that shot at Kyle Larson. I caught that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been going on. It's ultra aggressive. He's what Kyle Larson, I've stated this in a previous show. what Kyle has learned is how to go up there and pick a driver off. That's what he's learned. And he admitted that basically in the interview, that he was going up there to take the air off of him and push him up the racetrack a little bit. And then he didn't get to where he thought he was going to get on the second time and got into his quarter pound. Didn't mean to, but in reality, when you're going up and you're getting that close to a driver, how do you not expect to make contact one time or another? And he's done this throughout the year, and he keeps getting away with it. And Kyle Larson doesn't fight good. So, I don't know, man. Ryan Blaney's
I
not
think
the
it
one
needs
I would
to
mess
end.
with. Huh?
I think it needs to end.
It
I
does.
think
All
he's
right.
played that card too many times.
Sharon and I had this discussion earlier, Chris, and I said normally I would defend Kyle Larson. You just gave me a defense for him. He was trying to hit the air and use the air to push him. He missed the air and hit the car.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, right.
when
I was
you're
trying to
racing
get
each
you
other
with
like
the air.
that,
Yeah.
right? But we've seen that move many times before, and we
Yes.
know what he's doing. He's going up there and he's picking the air off, and then he's making the pass
Yeah,
easier for
but
him.
this one was, no, I had no answer for this one. I mean, he made a huge mistake.
I mean,
Yeah, it was huge. And
He
you
made-
can't say you're the best driver in the world and then do those kind of things.
There's no way he's the best driver in the world. There's no way. No way at all. He's a very talented driver.
I think
but
he's very talented, but
Yeah,
I think
he's very
he
talented.
makes too many mistakes,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah, no, I won't argue with you guys on this one. Like I said, I said it from the beginning. That one, I was with the broadcasters. They're like, what was that?
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see if that doesn't come back to a payback somewhere down the road. I know Ryan didn't really make much of an issue there in the post-race interview, but it could be
He was
very
ticked.
interesting.
But I don't think he's the kind of driver that would do that. I don't.
Everybody has it. Yeah, everybody has their
Everybody has
limits.
their
And
pressure point.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The drivers below the cut line, who's going to survive, or are these our four?
Well,
You
could have probably given the list at the beginning of the chase, the beginning of the playoff, and you would have probably had 3 out of 4 of these drivers.
Yep.
I am surprised at the big fall off by SVG. I really had some, I was pulling for him almost, thinking that maybe he had enough playoff points to guide him through to at least make it interesting. It really just goes into the side of those people that can't stand SVG so much. And I'm a fan. Like, I don't even like road course racing, but I do like the fact that a driver come from overseas and is basically making our drivers better at something that most of them have never really tried to be good at. When you have a transitional driver like SVG coming into the Cup Series and giving these guys something to chase, you're making them better drivers in the process of that. And so I was really pulling for him. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I think Tyler Reddick is on the cusp. I do think that this last finish may have helped him a little bit, but he's one crash away. But we're going to Bristol. That should be good. What are the guys that are out? Josh Berry, I had him as kind of a sleeper pick for Gateway. And unfortunately that went out the window pretty quick. Alex Bowman, this is the kind of year Alex had, and it's not a very good year. And it's terrible knowing that, he's been able to perform and get those needed wins at the right time. Unfortunately, I think last year he got caught underweight or something like that, and it got him thrown out. But he was in the 8. He was in the final 8 coming to that. Unfortunately, I think that it's done for him. So there's, I guess, Austin Dillon. He won that race again, right? I don't think he had any expectations outside of that, right? Like that, it seems like that was their main goal this year, was to win Richmond again. And he
Yeah,
did that. And
yeah.
so, those are probably your four. I would like to see Austin Cindric is above Austin Dillon, Van Gisbergen.
Yep.
Yeah, so Austin Cindric and Tyler Reddick are going to be the ones to watch, I think. But as for the first cut, barring something crazy, and it could happen, it's Bristol. Josh Berry, I haven't seen the stats on Josh Berry. We'd have to bring Taz in if you want some good stats on some guys. But Josh Berry could be he could very well be a wild card. Alex Bowman could, show up and show out.
Watch our fantasy report on Friday.
Right.
Yep, there you go.
Good plug there. So, that would completely throw a wrench in the bucket for the bottom half of who's out and who's in.
Okay, last
Well,
topic.
Chris, you weren't here, but you're agreeing with this, believe it or not. That was pretty much what Sharon and I said. Those were the four you would have expected. That's where they're at. That's what their season was, barring something odd. I mean, that's the way it's gone. You mentioned SVG, and I too was with you. You mentioned it of those. I talked about it, those that were screaming, hey, we can't have a road course winner only win the championship. Back then, I didn't respond to him because I'm like, it's going to take care of itself. He has improved, but he's not to that top level yet. And again, it showed. He used up all his bonus points. He's now back to where he's a little bit behind. He was running better than where he finished this past week, but still, even with that, had he finished in the teens, he'd still be below the line. He'd be closer to it, but he'd still be below it.
Okay, our last topic here for you, Trackhouse Racing post-race scrutiny. Have you heard about this one?
Yes, I have. And I also have heard about some guys who are literally putting their right front fender in the wall on the cool down lap as well. I guess everybody's got a little bit of something that they're cheating with, and they wanted to make sure. I don't know what running through the grass would do. I did hear some conspiracy theories that it could have been that they were trying to make sure that they made weight.
Yeah, they were
that
adding
could have
weight.
been an issue. Outside of that, I don't know what you would really do by parking it, running through the grass. Maybe they had substance on their tires that they weren't supposed to have. I don't know, man. Maybe
that's a new one.
Tires or something.
That's a new one. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I don't know, right? So, I mean, it's been done before. I think maybe Jeff Gordon got caught or something many years ago. Maybe they were putting something in a pit stall. Maybe it wasn't Jeff Gordon. Maybe it was just somebody was putting something in a pit stall and they were picking it up on the tire.
I know they usually put Pepsi or Coke in the pit
stall. Oh, no. I'm trying to think what that was. I do remember something on that, Chris.
Yeah,
and they were cleaning it off the tires. Yeah, I don't. That one's new. But I know Chris. Yeah, that one's maybe out there on that conspiracy theory. But again, knowing what teams are willing to do, I wouldn't 100% rule it out. Chris, you can back me up on this. On dirt track, you go to the bottom, you get in the mud, you pick up weight. They were saying going up and getting in the loose marbles with hot tires was picking up weight. I don't know how much or whatever, so that is a possibility. And then that was in addition to the grass. You turning it around of trying to clean something off of the tires is interesting.
Interesting. NASCAR will have their meeting on Tuesday, and we should hear, they'll be on Sirius XM radio. Brad Moran or Elton Sawyer. Huh?
Were any of those cars taken to the R&D center?
I believe so. Let me look.
I don't know about to the R&D, but if you're a playoff driver, no matter where you finish, you will get inspected.
No.
Yeah, I think they inspected all the playoff driver cars.
So we know that these cars are transformer cars. And believe it or not, they are. And look, I mean, don't have me up here telling you lies.
We missed you. We missed you, Chris. Okay? We missed you, Chris.
Oh, it says no cars returned to the R&D center.
Really?
No cars went back to the R&D center. Huh. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. But do watch for both of them to be on Sirius XM to hear what NASCAR's comments are.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about people slamming their right front fender into the wall than I
And
am
the
guys going
burnouts.
over some grass to make sure that they make weight. That makes more sense that they were trying to make sure that they were to wait, being
Yeah,
that a playoff driver got expelled from the playoffs for lack of
that's true
weight.
too.
So
That's true
that could have been a main concern for them. Being what do they call it? They call it something that these other cars are doing. They're not tricking them out. They're what's it called? So basically, a lower tier team will go to Talladega and create a car that performs different in air. It's lighter or something like that. Maybe that's what they were doing, and they went a little bit too far, or something like that. What you have noticed, and I know that you guys have noticed it, I've noticed it. All the trickery that's been going on with how the paint schemes are on these cars, and there's little things that are sticking out
We
about
talked about
certain
that.
placements of graphics and stuff like that, and all of that is to trick the system. Now all those areas are there to keep those sensory boards from being able to pick up where they might be trying to gather a little bit more aero advantage to something. So obviously, it's toward the end of the year. This is 4 years into this car. They figured out ways to do things, and the hammer will come down, they'll get caught, and we'll laugh at them as we go over that report. I mean, it's good.
Okay.
It'll happen. They'll get caught. So NASCAR's got more eyes. Look, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people had to police NASCAR. They had to go tell on somebody. These days there's so many cameras and so many different on
Oh, I
looks.
know.
NASCAR probably spends days studying film and stuff from the previous weekend just to see.
Well, Sharon pointed it out. What did you say? It was Alex Bowman that did have question on the radio
Yes.
of, hey, why are these guys running up against the wall and then down into the grass? He was the one that actually said, hey, look at them.
And it was two of the Trackhouse drivers that were doing it.
Yeah,
Now
Chastain
the-
and SVG, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, our next topic, potential change to the fast lap bonus criteria. So, Jay, you want to take this one?
Sure. And I had seen this already at, what was it? I think on Fridays, one of the preview shows where I had seen it and we talked about it, and we would talk about it tonight. Kyle Larson on several occasions, I know two of the road courses, I think it was, where he wrecked out early, went to the garage, come back out, but still got fast time. Apparently last week at Darlington, we mentioned Josh Berry bottoming out, spinning out on half a lap, had gone to the garage and came back and got the fast lap time. And they were saying, hey, how is it that a car that went to the garage, made changes, got to have fast lap? So
yeah, I think there's some
does NASCAR look at that and change that rule? Two of the things I saw kicked around was if you went to the garage, you couldn't get it, or you have to be on the lead lap. And then Taz and I were going back and forth in the chat room earlier just to bring his thoughts into this. He said in Formula One, as much as I hate to say this, but Formula One has the rule of, what do you say, top 10. You have to be in the top 10 in order to get that bonus point. As I put it, I'm not a Formula One fan. I'll make that clear. I don't want to see them do or mimic Formula One in any way, shape, or form. However, I do think that it kind of like the other rule as far as burnouts. If NASCAR steps in and does something, I understand it. I'm not normally in favor of more rules and this and that, but if there is that question, I could see where NASCAR would make a rule. I personally wouldn't want to necessarily see it as you have to be on the lead lap at the time or throughout the entire race, but to the garage and back out, if nothing else, make sure you check that car fully for its legality before you give them that point. And that'd take some extra work. So I get the feeling they would just say, hey, if you've been to the garage, come back out, you aren't eligible to get that fast lap. The lead lap thing, I don't agree with fully. But again, if that's the way they go, I can understand it because, again, there is question and it would take away that question mark. So that's where I stand on it, other than I don't like Formula One.
Okay, Chris, your
Yeah,
thought.
can we please race for something?
Race for something?
Yeah.
For a win?
No, just for fast time. Like if I know, first of all, that's such an awesome strategy, right? Okay, we're gonna finish 38. That's worth 3 points. So let's go out here and let's trim down this car and let's go out here and make the fastest lap possible so that we can get the points scored for 37th instead of 38th. That's a genius. I mean, these playoffs are decided by points.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to take that away? Like
Yes.
that gives them something to fight for. That gives them something to fight for. You know, it used to be that you had Mark Martin that would go out there with no hood on his car, no fenders on it, look like a open wheel modified out there making laps at Talladega. You can't do that anymore. But this gives them a certain ability to still race for something. Because how about you've got a 6-car pile up and these 6 cars are basically eliminated from full competition, but you've got 4 guys who keep going into the pits, trimming this and trimming that to go out there and try to find that fastest lap. You've got a race within a race. And I think that's good. I think that any time that you've been given a chance for maybe a 38 or a 77 or a 42 car to go out there and earn something and maybe get a little bit of an extra advantage on another team, you don't take that away from them. I'm not for changing this at all. I think that why do you take something away just because somebody figured out, hey, like our day is screwed, but we can still earn an extra point right here if we go out and set the fastest lap. They are racing for something. Can't we just race for something?
Well, I understand why they want to review it, though, and maybe establish different criteria. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Jay?
Yeah, I got to come off mute here. That's interesting, Chris, and I appreciate that viewpoint, and it's a very good one. My only concern is then I would say that car has to be one of the ones that gets teched for legality. I don't want to see it go to an illegal car. Like Sharon said, you don't want to see somebody earn something, a win or a championship that hasn't truly earned it based off of following the rules. But that certainly does give a perspective. You're right. The fact that they are coming back out and fighting for something, you did appreciate. I don't know if I did pick Mark Martin, but any car that comes back out with half the car, because again, if they gained 3 spots, that was in that day 2 to 3 points per position. That they are out there still fighting for whatever they can get. And I liked when NASCAR changed that rule. Call it the Ryan Blaney rule, if you will, of, hey, if you got to go to the garage, you're done. I didn't like that because you're right, of come back out and fight for everything you can get.
Right.
So I think that is very valid, but I do want it to know that it is still legal, that a car that went to the garage and manipulated or changed something is still as legal as all the other cars that are eligible out there up front. I can't condone of it not being a legal car of still. So, but you're right. I don't want to see it. And that's why I said I didn't want to see it be restricted to lead lap only, because you could go 1 lap down and still have a solid car, depending on the car out front, like Connor Zilisch eating you up all the lead lap cars being limited. So I agree with you on that, but yeah, I want it to be a legal car. I understand the question there of, hey, is it legal, being that they went in the garage and came back out? If the changes they make, tire pressure of, talk about difference of what the setups and changes you would make from qualifying to racing, because again, it was all about getting that 1 lap speed. If it is within the rules, absolutely. If they went and put a qualifying setup in it to get that 1 point, yeah, I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to see them take it away or prevent them from getting it, but I do want to make sure it's legal.
I would agree with that. I would want to make sure it's a legal car, because that's just going to the garage. They could do anything. And I know there's NASCAR officials there, but we also know that they've got ways of working around that. So, Chris, any follow up there?
Other than it just makes for an awesome test section, like they remove this quarter panel, they detach this, and they see what it does to the car, and with that creates the creativity that we miss so much in racing. So yeah,
I don't miss
I'm with
that.
y'all. Look, as long as the guys can somehow pass some kind of tech issue or whatever, especially the weight issue, I think is the biggest thing. Outside of that, trimming down the car, taking some stuff out of it. That's they're basically running qualifying trim, and that's what they're trying to do. And that's go for it, man. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm with that philosophy.
Yeah, that's basically what I think they're doing. They're just throwing the qualifying trim back in it and going out there and seeing what they can get out of it. And like I said, let these guys race for something. Give them a chance. Like that's what stage points were created for, right? So you go out, you win the first, you win the second stage. All of a sudden, you accumulated points. Now you get wrecked in the third stage, but you still got one more point you can go chase after, and that's trim the car down and see what kind of lap you can lay down. I would have much rather awarded a point for the most laps led than ever for or even for a lap led for anybody who
Right.
leads a lap to give a point versus time. So in a way, I think that's what we're stuck with. Like that's what NASCAR wanted to do. They wanted to give you a fast lap point, and so let it be a fast lap point. Whether or not it comes from your 38th finisher or your first place finisher, let that be decided amongst the men and women that race, not tech officials.
That's something of, and I'll say other series. I don't know if F1 does or not, but I know ARCA does. The bonus points in NASCAR used to have it. That was one they took away that I didn't agree with. Was you mentioned of leading a lap and then the one who leads the most laps, given a bonus point maybe for the pole award winner or whatever. I do agree with that. So yeah, that certainly does. And something you were saying there as you were going through it, Chris, I think back to that was my initial thought with Kyle Larson on the road courses. I didn't necessarily go to the thought that they were cheating or doing something illegal to the car. They got it to where it was running. If he comes back out, that is all he is going for versus having to stay on the track and not wreck. Throwing caution to the wind, basically. Be like, hey, I'm going to give it all on this one lap and get that bonus point or whatever. Right. I don't have to worry about whether or not it stays on the track for another lap after that. Right. So, yeah, I kind of attributed it to hey, I can go out and run wide open into this corner. If it works, I'm going to get fast lap. If it doesn't, we were already 38th, like you said. So that's just my biggest concern is whether or not the car is legal. Like I said, on a road course, I think it was just a matter of, hey, I can throw caution to the wind. Because if I go off the track, I'm not going to damage my car any more than it already is, right?
Okay, let's move on to our next hot topic, which is the RCR to Dodge. More smoke rumors. What did you mean by that, Jay?
There seem to be a lot more articles and connections being made to the possibility, I guess it went all the way back to when Dodge left the first time. This was one I was reading today with Team Penske, that RCR apparently did have some conversations with Dodge, and it never materialized into them staying in the sport. That was new to me. But we already talked about this just when College Racing was the first to announce they were going to be the representative for Ram in the Truck Series. Well, if they're then the Cup Series projected, they're associated and allianced with RCR. If Dodge does come into Cup, they need a team with an engine program. RCR has that. And what I was reading today, though, is the counter argument is RCR is all about loyalty and whatnot. He has been Chevy through and through, just like Hendrick, but I don't know. They are going to need a top tier organization. And I say top tier. I know RCR hasn't been winning races and championships left and right here, but are still one of the top teams. I mean, Austin Dillon won a race, right? But I think the engine program is the biggest thing that Dodge has to look at as far as that. So it's certainly interesting. I'll just say that. And I questioned that too. I was like, oh, wait, now is RCR ever really going to leave? I mean, that'd be like Roush Fenway, Roush leaving Ford, or Hendrick leaving Chevrolet. Man, I'm not saying it's impossible, but boy, I have a tough time seeing it. So, but I also look at, in this day now, is RCR even one of the top 3 Chevy teams when you look at it? With who's got alliances with Hendrick? Spire Motorsports is on the rise. I've seen that a lot. Hendrick Motorsports Junior tagline. I don't know if I fully buy that, but when Stewart Haas Racing left Chevrolet and Hendrick, it was because they were third or whatever in line under the Chevys, and that's kind of where RCR is at. So, if they could be the top organization, the only organization as far as Dodge, I don't know.
Chris, your thoughts about the heated up rumors?
Yeah, I've stated before, in order to bring in a new manufacturer with an engine, you have to have an engine department. And right now, there's only a handful of engine departments. One of them is sitting quietly over at Penske's shop, not being used. There's one that produces ECR motors, Chevy motors. There's another that produces Hendrick motors. There's only one Ford motor. That's the Yates Roush motor, and then one Toyota motor, TRD. So that's kind of limited. If I'm a manufacturer, I'm going to talk to the guy who's either, one, got his engine department shut down, or two, the guy who doesn't seem to be as fast or up to fit as the other guys, and that would be RCR. And I know that RCR has been very loyal to the Chevy brand throughout his entire existence. But so was Bill Elliott until he went to Dodge. So was, who's another one, right? Tony Stewart, right? Like he went to Ford. Nobody would have expected that. So I think you got to go where the money is. And if you've seen a partnership where you're bringing in maybe a colleague racing, Trackhouse, maybe RCR, mixed in with Junior Motorsports, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to tell you something that I've been watching over the last couple of weeks. It was just announced that there was Haas Automation,
Yep.
Haas CNC, whatever. Haas is now going back to Chevrolet, and they're bringing their Xfinity team, well, O'Reilly Auto Parts team, to Chevrolet. Hendrick has a number 17, and Spire has Chevy cars as well that's going to be racing Xfinity. Are we seeing like Hendrick or Chevrolet making sure that when Junior Motorsports leaves and goes to Dodge, that void is filled immediately?
Or if RCR goes to Dodge?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like there's a void that's fixing to be filled. And whether that's coming from RCR, whether that's coming from Junior Motorsports, or whether that's coming from all the above, it's going to be a good question. And Trackhouse, look, Trackhouse can play their cards both ways. They can say, oh, we can go to Dodge, or we can get more out of our Chevy partnership. Because they'll have to go to Hendrick Motors if the ECR becomes a Dodge brand. So there's a lot of components that can flip into that. I know some of the main rumors was that NASCAR was going to pivot a sale of one of these charters to Junior Motorsports. You know, they kind of hinted that it was somebody that was long time wanting to get into Cup and whatnot. I just wonder if all that is kind of tied together. It was quite rattling when you found out that Colleague Racing was going to race trucks with the Dodge brand and Chevy for their Xfinity and Cup brand. So, you know, I don't know how long that's going to last. I think I said that last week. So we'll have to see. Hey, I love it, man. 2026 silly season is already in effect right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
2026, we can start talking about 2026 silly season right now, right here. I know we're going to have a million views because we're already speculating 2026 silly season.
And beyond. That's where I said it goes beyond that.
It does. But the one thing that's for sure, they need an engine department. Stellantis needs an engine department. And where they're going to find that engine, first of all, you don't have to worry about that in Truck Series. They're all on the Ilmore engine, so they don't have to worry about that. The next question is, if they were to go above truck racing, where would their engine department come from? And, you know, as we know, Penske ran Dodge Motors, so they can literally just, you know, employ some people and start building Dodge Motors all over again. But I just don't see Penske leaving Ford and going back to Dodge. I think that may have sailed, even though over the past 35 years, Penske's probably made that leap more than any other car owner. If you'll remember, Rusty was originally in a Pontiac, then he was in a Dodge, and then
I think Rusty was. I mean, Penske was, but I don't think did Rusty run Dodge? Or was he gone by then? Did he? Okay.
Oh, he was.
No,
He definitely ran a Dodge. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he was gone by the time they went to Dodge.
Yeah, now I was tying in the RCR rumor to Colleague Racing because they are racing Ram in the Truck Series for next season. And I know they're saying with Chevrolet this season, but that's because Dodge isn't, or next season, that's because Dodge is not coming yet. The Truck Series next season is supposed to be their entry, and then they will consider whether or not they will advance to Xfinity or Cup Series. So I don't see RCR or anybody in Xfinity or Cup Series going to Dodge until at least the 27th season.
Right.
But it makes sense to me. They have more of an alliance with Colleague than they do with with Hendrick or any of the other teams. So it made sense to me that RCR might join that same trend of moving over to Dodge along with Colleague for that 2027 season. So there might be some validity. It's all rumors right now. I think it's probably a real fluid situation right now. And even though it might be looking one way now, by the time we get to 2027, it could be a completely different story. So we'll have to see how it continues to play out. But that Colleague and RCR connection, I think, makes a lot of sense. And it also makes sense that, right now you've got Haas factory team racing with Ford. They're, like you said, they're not at the top of the Ford list right now. So for them to make a change over to Chevrolet, that opens the door for them to do that next season and kind of get into their fold before that 27 season starts. So I think it is all tied into one another. And that is one of our next hot topics too, is the fact that Haas factory team is moving to Chevrolet for the 2026 season. So it makes sense, but there's a lot that can change between now and then. So we'll see. Jay, your follow-up?
Well, yeah. I definitely got follow-up there of, Chris, you have made history. You're going to make me talk about some black helicopters. The RCR one, that one, and that's why I worded it, what normally we say, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been a lot of talk as far as that possibility. again, the counter is RCR's loyalty to Chevy, but they certainly aren't the top Chevy team. So as everybody said, those pieces fit together real well. The next one, which I would rank as the next one down, that there may be some merit to, was Penske, because again, it revolves. You were right, 100% agree, Chris. It revolves around the engine program. Penske's not being used, if you will, as far as it being the Yates Roush side of it. However, there again, talk about the current manufacturer loyalty. You're talking about the two-time defending team manufacturer when it comes to Penske. So I'm like, yeah, that kind of puts a damper on that. Now, you brought in some really dark black helicopters. I have heard the Junior Motorsports thing brought up. But again, then where does the engine program come from? As well as then if they want to continue Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity, Rick Hendrick has to divest his interest in that team, because it can't be a Cup team, because that would give Hendrick more than the 4 allotted Cup teams, or interest involvement in more than the 4 Cup teams. So, and there again, Junior and Hendrick splitting, him going to Dodge. I'm not saying it's completely out of the question, but as much as I want to see Junior Motorsports and Cup, and I love Dodge, I'd say I want to see it. Boy, I see it as a real slim possibility. But you brought some interesting ammo with that helicopter in the more Chevy teams coming in, albeit one at this point of Haas factory team. I hadn't added that to, hey, this might be a Chevy preparing to lose or whatever that they're trying to beef up and be prepared for it. That was a new aspect to it. So thank you so much for that.
Wait till I throw in that Chase Elliott would be their number 1 driver.
See, not falling for it, because I really thought that Gordon, my driver, was going to be a Dodge driver with his crew chief of Everham. Man, I was so excited for that, and it didn't happen. So, but Chase Elliott isn't my driver now either. So go ahead.
Well, Bill did it, so that's all I'm saying. Bill went to drive for Dodge.
No, I wanted to throw that one in there. You were coming up with some? Who'd have bought into Jimmy Johnson running a Toyota team?
See there?
No kidding.
See there?
Right?
Money
I mean,
talks.
things can
Money
happen.
talks.
Yeah, things can happen. So
Speaking
I wouldn't
of,
rule it out.
I hope that they made the list of things to talk about, because I don't know if I was a believer in the beginning that things had gotten turned around. First of all, you want success for Jimmy Johnson. You've seen how it wound up over at IndyCar, so you kind of wonder how far does the greatness go. And you've heard over the broadcast that his commitment to the team is so much that he moved back from Europe to be back in the shop. And now you're seeing the results. It's just one of those deals where, like, are we looking at a breakout? Are we looking at Legacy Motor Club breaking out and becoming a legit force in the Cup Series? I, for one, and Taz can go, he can verify this. I have been a huge fan of Eric Jones throughout his career. I have always said that Jones boy was going to be a champion. Like, he's going to break out. He's one of the, I've always felt confident that he was a capable driver. And those that have written him off, I remind you, first of all, Terry Labonte won a championship 10 years, I think 11 years separated from each other.
In between, yep.
But also, Martin Truex Jr. won a championship later in his career. So it is possible that Eric Jones still fulfills that prediction that I've had many years ago. So I'm not surprised. And look, John Hunter Nemechek, very talented race car driver, puts forth his best effort every week. I'm really impressed with where Legacy Motor Club is right now. I don't think it's a fluke.
And the thing,
I would agree.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you were going to jump back in. Sorry, Sharon. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead, Jay.
The thing was, we saw the momentum building with Legacy, even under the Chevrolet. Then they switched to Toyota, and I know they've quoted the team making the statement, "Give us till midpoint of the season," as we transition over from Chevrolet to Toyota with that. And I never had any doubt with that. That is one of those where I felt like maybe they were shooting themselves in the foot because they were building momentum and then take a step back by switching over to Toyota. But you're right, Chris, it's still there, and we are starting to see it in the second half without a doubt. We look at.
And let me just ask this question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
Erik Jones, I know, was a Toyota driver in the early part of his career in NASCAR. I think John Hunter Nemechek was too.
Yes.
Jones is one. Because John Hunter went to
development drivers.
And he went back to a Toyota team in Kyle Busch Motorsports, but then came in with came back to Toyota
after front row.
After front row, there we go. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So yeah, that is, and you talk about Erik Jones. He's the one I felt kind of got the shaft because isn't that who went to Furniture Row as a team car, and then when they moved over, kind of got pushed out of Joe Gibbs Racing, and thus ended up getting bounced around and whatnot. So yeah, I'm with you, Chris. Of always believed in him, and I think to me that was one of the first. And I say it's Corey Heim right now of Toyota being behind, and then all of a sudden bailed on him. I feel like Toyota bailed on him.
Yes.
So. But yeah, I hadn't really until you hit that it was a coming back to Toyota for him, and we've seen that some drivers do match up really well with certain manufacturers for whatever reason. It's kind of odd, but and I'm not a driver, so I don't know of that of just even like the taking time to switch from Chevrolet Legacy Motor Club as a whole, switching from Chevrolet to Toyota, the differences that takes and the procedure. They always say the procedures and the process. Everybody wants to say all the cars are the same. Well, obviously not, because teams say it takes that half a year or more to get back into a groove and build upon the knowledge they have and apply it to this manufacturer. So that to me is the argument against no, these cars aren't all the same, and it's IROC series, swap one out for the other. It obviously is not, or teams would be able to switch and not lose a step. And we saw that step back when it came to Legacy, but they're gaining that footing back by all means.
Yes, indeed. I think Legacy Motor Club has done very well under the Toyota banner. And I think one of the reasons is because both of those drivers were Toyota development drivers. And you outlined why they left Toyota, but now they're back under that banner, and I think that's why we're seeing them do better under Toyota than they were doing under Chevy or Ford. So, yeah, I'm excited about them being under the banner, and I do think we used to have Erik Jones on the show quite a lot when he was in the lower tier series. So I've always been an Erik Jones fan too. And I love his answers, when he's interviewed and stuff. I think he has great insight as well. So yeah, count me in as another Erik Jones fan as well.
Just says how long you've been around, Miss Sharon.
Yeah, I've been around for a while.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, Erik Jones has always been one of my favorites.
The other one I wanted to throw out there that I think was matched up for whatever reason really well with Toyota was Harrison Burton. And when he went to the Ford of the Wood Brothers, I understand it was an opportunity. You almost had to take it. Didn't pan out. Now he's back in the Xfinity and in Chevrolet doing solid in that, because again, the AM isn't one of the top tier teams, but they've made the playoffs. I really feel like if you could get Harrison Burton back in a Toyota, I think you'd see some great things out of him.
I hear you. I think that would be great for him. Okay. Anything more you want to say, Chris?
No.
No? Okay. The other topics that we have here were Ford Performance is now known as Ford Racing. Did you guys see that news?
Wow.
No, I hadn't even
Ford
seen that.
Performance.
New marketing plan.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
they've kind of changed
maybe it's because they're not. Maybe it's
platform.
because they haven't been performing.
Oh, you're so bad.
Chris is like, oh, don't throw that on me.
I'm a Ford guy, y'all. Through and through.
And you're wearing
I
a
drive a
Chevy
Toyota
shirt.
Camry, though. Imagine that.
Yeah,
wearing a
Sharon
Chevy
called you
shirt.
out. Sharon called you out.
What?
You're wearing a Chevy shirt.
And I'm wearing a Chevy shirt. That's because they're free at Talladega.
Oh,
It's all about the money in this case, or lack of.
Right. I wear what's free. That's funny.
Okay.
That is funny. I got caught saying I'm a Ford man wearing a Chevy shirt and driving a Toyota Camry. So yeah.
Oh, you see, you're just supporting NASCAR
Yikes.
all the way around. Good job, Chris.
Hey, that's right.
So consider this one, I guess, more of a news item for us to share with everybody that Ford Performance is now known as Ford Racing rather than Ford Performance. So
Honestly,
I don't think there's a whole lot to
Chris.
say here.
Yeah, no, I'm with Chris. I think it's a marketing thing, and now it just popped into my head. Is this a Cracker Barrel thing? We got to go back to the original logo because it upset everybody.
Dear Lord. I hope not. Okay, so do you guys have any other topics? There's something here in the private chat. Oh, okay.
That was me a while ago.
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, that was like
I'm
10
sorry. I
minutes
just
ago.
now saw it. Okay, so is it
now I'm
time for us
trying
to
to
do our
find- hold on.
round table?
Hold on, the one, well, I guess we
Did we
did,
miss one?
Sharon, you and
Oh,
I
we
kind of
didn't talk
talked about
about Connor. Yeah, let's go
Connor
ahead and
Zilisch,
talk
yeah.
about this because we haven't talked about this.
Well, you and I kind of did in reference to it, but yeah, clearly nobody is unbeatable, but doggone, it looks like he is right now, you know. So my question was, are we penciling or even penning him in as the NASCAR Xfinity Series champion this year?
I think everybody is kind of thinking he is the regular season champion. Now will he win the title? Chris, what are your thoughts here? We know he's not really unbeatable, but he's on a streak.
I've been searching for a reason not to like this kid.
Keep looking.
I just can't find them. Look,
There's
when
no
Parker
reason.
Kligerman won the race and he's running, he's like he was a fan. He was a fan of a man who just a veteran who just won in his car. And here's
Yep.
Connor running across the racetrack, wanting to be the first to greet him. As Parker Kligerman's getting out of the car, he's probably like, "Chill, man. What? Like, wait a minute. You know, I just won in your car." I don't know. I've tried to find reasons to not like Connor. Honestly, I love everything about this kid. He's to hear him interviews, he sounds like a wily veteran. But in reality, you know, he's been talking about how life was when he was 15. He's 18. He's 18 years old, talking about how life was when he was 15. Boy, if we could just like share some of that with him. Will we see Connor Zilisch become Joey Logano? I think is the greatest question.
Yep, that was
Because
just my
remember how
thought.
gullible and sweet Joey was in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the maturity started. And then the call out. You know, if we can
he
go
started
back to
getting
the
pushed
Kevin
around.
Harvick incident, Joey Logano's true coming out party was saying Deanna Harvick wore the fire suit in that family. That was Joey Logano's coming out party. That's when he said, "I'm not going to take this anymore." That's when he said, "I don't need my dad to fight fights for me. I will insult a driver by complimenting his wife." And he didn't insult any driver. He insulted Kevin Harvick, who at the time was the most fiery driver in the garage, outside of Robbie Gordon, of course. I don't know if Robbie was around then or not, but definitely the most prominent fiery driver in the garage. And so that was, are we going to see them push and shove Connor until we get that kind of reaction from him? Absolutely. Am I going to be here to see it front row? I hope so. William Byron, come on, guys. He's very vanilla. There's nothing really there. You can't give me one cool thing to like about William Byron, right? But just look at Connor Zilisch.
Well, William, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, but you put the personality of Connor Zilisch versus William Byron. Who's got the better personality?
Okay, Jay.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a matter of opinion. I like William Byron. You're talking about that as far as then, the vanilla. I understand. Again, that goes back to Jimmy Johnson. I didn't have the issue that some fans have with him calling him vanilla and all this. So yeah, is William Byron a little more reserved? So is Mark Martin. So is Martin Truex. That just depends on what your take on him is. I was still trying to go back to thinking, comparing Joey Logano when he first came into Connor Zilisch. I was like, I kind of remember Joey as always being the defiant, not particularly liked. I think, the biggest thing for me, and the Delana Harvick pants comment certainly was a step. I go back to the Tony Stewart situation with Joey Logano that really stood out in my mind. I would compare him more to Ty Gibbs and maybe even Chase Elliott as far as you look like the next coming in the Xfinity Series. Can you be at the Cup level? Because I felt like Ty Gibbs. He's unbeatable. He's coming to the Cup. Look out. We're still waiting for that win. Chase Elliott took multiple years, although it was closer, I think, maybe than like Ty Gibbs was before he got that win. That's my concern, and I say it's a concern. Your question of is he going to stand up for himself and take it? I think we've already seen that because although it wasn't a direct teammate, he went toe-to-toe with SVG on the road courses and bumping and pushing, and that was supposed to, at that time, might be his teammate the next year. Is this going to cost him the contract he may not have signed and official yet? And it didn't phase him. We've seen it several times where juniors talk to him on the radio. They're like, hey, you're not alone out there. We do have some team cars. I'm not telling you to back down, but, don't be wrecking your teammates. So I don't think that'll be an issue, honestly, as far as that of him being too timid and getting pushed around. I think he's already showed he will stand his ground.
I do think it's highly competitive.
Yeah. The one thing, and Chris, I hadn't really thought about it when congratulating Parker Kligerman. You're right, because depending on your attitude, it might have been like, well, if he wins in the car, it's going to look like it's the car, not me as the driver. There was none of that. I mean, he was absolutely thrilled for Parker Kligerman. Not that he got him, hey, the points and I get the win or not. You're right. He was a fan and he was thrilled for Parker Kligerman, and he showed it. So yeah, that's I like it. You're right. I don't know that you can find a reason to not like him. You talk about William Byron. I understand some may view him as vanilla. What impresses me with William Byron is he didn't get his racing. He hasn't been racing go-karts since he was 3.5 years old. He did it through iRacing and whatnot and proved it. But he, too, dominated in the truck series. And there, too, Corey Heim is another one I see coming. We've seen what he can do in trucks. Can he do it in Cup? Can he do it in Xfinity? My hope is, and the talent is there, but sometimes things just don't match up. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to Connor Zilisch. But I'm looking forward to road course racing at the Cup level being somebody hanging with SVG.
Well, we have seen some drivers challenged by making that transition from Xfinity to the Cup Series and the next gen car. Cole Custer comes to mind. He was outstanding in the Xfinity Series, but he has struggled to make that transition into the next gen car. So, and there's other drivers too. Harrison Burton struggled with it. He does well, I think, in the Xfinity Series. But you're right. I do think he might even do better in a Toyota than in the Ford or the Chevy. So we'll have to see how this works out for Connor Zilisch. I think he's a phenomenal competitive driver, and I think he excels. So does Corey Heim, for that matter. I think Corey Heim excels in the Truck Series, but can he do it in the Xfinity or the Cup Series? But, time always tells the rest of the story. We'll have to see what he does in the Cup Series next year with Trackhouse Racing, because Trackhouse is not going to be Junior Motorsports. They're not going to have the same resources as Junior Motorsports. So we'll see how he does with them next season, because he is going to be driving in the Cup Series next season. I would not expect a lot from him. Now, I will say this. When he came into the Xfinity Series and people didn't see him in the ARCA Menard Series, he took the Xfinity Series by storm from the very first race. But whether or not he can do that in the Cup Series is a whole different ballgame, I think. And if anybody can do it, I would think Connor Zilisch would be the guy that could do it. But I'm not going to be disappointed if he doesn't take off like he did in the Xfinity Series. I think it might be at least a half a year before we see him make any moves in the Cup Series when he comes over there. But he's surprised us before. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't take off either.
Yeah. My concern is when he gets to Phoenix, how others will perceive him, whether or not they will push him around, treat him like the kid that he is.
Yeah.
And could it come from his own stable? Obviously, you can't think of a championship 4 without putting Justin Allgaier in there.
Yep.
And Allgaier could be a lot more aggressive than a Connor Zilisch. Allgaier has a lot more to, Zilisch has a ride for next year. He's got a Cup team he's going to. Allgaier's got something more to fight for. How far will that go?
And he's good at Phoenix.
And so, you don't 10 years from now, we'll look back and we'll see the smile, but it won't be as innocent as it is right now, because they will push and prod and mold him into the future winner that he's going to be. It's very, very awesome, as a matter of fact, Sharon, that you started it out when I come on, and you talked about how Connor Zilisch could very easily get bored and wind up over at Formula One. Y'all really, I've made that statement on this show. I love to hear what I've said come back. And that really, seriously, it's more likely than what any of us could have ever imagined coming from a stock car driver. Like how he could transition to Formula One and be the first to ever do it, if I may say. I've never seen a stock car
he's young enough that's a possibility.
That is a possibility that he could do that. We watched AJ, who started out in Formula One, and migrate to the Cup Series, and AJ's had a pretty decent career throughout the time that he's been around. We've seen Mario Andretti, I guess, is the only true Formula One maybe champion that has raced and also won a Daytona 500. So it'll be interesting to see if Trackhouse has the quality equipment that will keep Zilisch occupied. His talent well over exceeds what I believe Trackhouse can offer. He is the hottest driver for the next 10 years of, can I get my hands on him? Yeah. And whether or not he even chooses to continue Cup racing, or, if Kyle Larson was 10 years younger with the exposure that he's had over the last several years, you would almost expect Kyle Larson to be that one guy who made the transfer over to Formula One. But I think with what happened with Jimmy Johnson and what's happened with Kyle Larson's 2 years of going to Indianapolis, those guys are really thinking twice about whether or not they want to embarrass themselves over in a Indy style, Formula One style car. As we've just said, there's 2 drivers in the Cup Series, or well, one's in Cup, the other's in Xfinity Series, that I believe could make that transition and be good at it would be SVG and Connor Zilisch, just because of the style of racing that these guys have already been influenced by.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, Sharon, I don't know if you're going to edit out where I stuck my tongue out. I was like, man, y'all going to make me.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, I don't even know if she said, yeah, when he started talking about Connor to go into Formula One. If that's what he does and wants to, I'm happy for him. But yeah, I'd have a reason to not like him, Chris. You said you were looking for a reason. There would be my reason. No, if that's what happens and it's what he wants, I get it. I understand that. And we were talking about that of then just overall best driver, with being able to go to anything. And you go back to Mario Andretti, Tony Stewart has done well. When it comes to Kyle Larson, the first year, I think he had the car and the rain is what hampered it and things just didn't work out. I don't think we truly got to see. This year did not go well. I mean, you can't deny that for whatever the reason. Don't know what it was. Just wasn't the same this year. And that was from the beginning. Practice, qualifying, all of it. It just wasn't the same.
I kind of get the feeling that something's going on with Kyle Larson. Like, I don't know if it's something personal or something internal. Something's going on with Kyle Larson, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's going to be interesting to see how this continues to play out.
I don't know. I just didn't have the same good feeling of his Indy performance from, like I said, testing all the way through. It just wasn't the same. But there was something else in there. Oh, I know one of the things that was in my mind, Chris threw a bunch of things into my head. I was pondering. I hate it when I let Chris in my head. No, my concern, we were talking about Corey Heim and these guys that come up and making that next step into Cup and whether or not they can succeed. And Sharon, I know you can relate to this. I don't want to see the Casey Atwood situation. Yes. And that was the biggest thing of you've got to give them time. And from what I've seen, Justin Marks is willing to and will support, but goes back to what Chris has said, money talks. And I understand there's got to be that performance and the money behind it. I just hope that if it does take time, that the sponsors and team will stay behind him and give him that time if it is needed. Because like I said, Casey Atwood is what pops to my mind when it comes to that. Do I fear that? No. Again, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs is still there. He's not been written off yet, but did not necessarily come in and win in his rookie year or sophomore year, which I think we're in his sophomore year. Yeah. With that. So we'll have to wait and see. The talent, absolutely. There's no questioning that by any means.
I think Connor Zilisch might make Ty Gibbs better, because I think Ty Gibbs, he was the next best thing when he came into Cup. And so I think that will be a challenge for him that will make him a better race car driver.
I was one that we really did. I did. I will say that. I did expect Ty Gibbs to possibly win in the latter part of his rookie year. And he was close enough then through the second year there. It's like, okay, he's knocking on the door. It's coming. I just don't see that anymore. And I know they've made some crew changes and trying to work on things. Yeah, I don't see that closeness as we had seen. So I don't know what that step back was, but something went in the wrong direction there.
Michigan.
Michigan? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
that's what happened. He got told not to pass. Y'all that crazy. That was Yahoo. That's the home headquarters of Yahoo. There was no way that they were going to allow Ty Gibbs to pass Denny Hamlin, and that's killed the confidence of that poor kid. because he had the ability to get that monkey off his back that he won. Like, that's what you've got to have. You got to have that win. That way, okay, I know I can do this. I'm a winner. I did it. Now I got to go repeat it. It's getting that win and the lack of, and then being told you can't, stay where you are. Don't do anything. We'll get it next time, buddy. That will.
Oh, go ahead.
Team orders ruins racing. It does.
That's why I don't like Formula One. Read the chat with Taz.
I agree. I agree 100%. If they could eliminate team orders from Formula One, I wouldn't miss a race because it would be better competitively. What kills competition is Spire can't pass a Hendrick car. A Hendrick car, when you got a Hendrick car behind you, Spire's supposed to pull over. How can you ever win that way? How can you ever know that I'm a winner? Right? So Todd, and I know, I'm sorry. I get out there and I say crazy
There was
things.
a reason why he was told not to go after it. Wasn't he trying to conserve? I can't remember now.
They blamed it on fuel mileage or something, but
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
going to think otherwise. Y'all know me. It burned his confidence. Doesn't it make sense? It burned his confidence. We've not seen Ty Gibbs that competitive since. So let the guy get him a win. We'll see a different Ty Gibbs. I want to see that fiery Ty Gibbs. I want to see that kid that, we're like, oh, yeah, his grandpa is going to pray for him for that one, right? I mean, come on. That's what that's what we want to see out of that kid. He's the preacher's son, right? The preacher's grandson.
Jay, what were you going to say?
Even more so now, I want to say it. I'm not going to stand all the way over there with Chris. However, you reference there. Now you got to edit out 2 tongues stick out.
2 tongues.
I think you referenced Michigan. I had kind of forgot. That's why when you said Michigan, I wasn't putting it there. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think the downslide or backstepping had already begun. That certainly didn't help it, and he verbalized it, his frustration and whatnot. And I'm with you. Do I think it was 100% the conspiracy of it? No, because the fuel thing was legit. I think it was used, though, as Sharon said, to protect others. I'm in the middle on that one. Like I said, I'm not going to go all the way right with you, Chris, but there was something there, and I agree. I didn't like it. But I also, like I said, I feel like that backstep had already taken place, and that was kind of the final where Ty Gibbs was like, hey, I've had enough.
I swear, because a year ago he was knocking on the door, y'all. A year ago he was one race away, and he's going to get this thing.
Yep, every week. Yep.
This is the 3rd year, and it's like he's lost confidence.
But like I said, I think that. Yeah, I think that had already started. Michigan just added to it. You said that was what did it. I don't think so. It was already happening, and that just kind of capped it off.
Well, it was kind of the last straw on top of all the other straws. Yeah,
killing the kid's confidence. That's the point. Yeah, killing the kid's.
And yeah, he was clearly not happy with that, and I backed him 100% in his radio calls on that one. Like, hey, let me race.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and it just makes me not like Denny Hamlin that much more.
Whoa! Wow! She stuck out more than her tongue there. Holy cow! Yeah.
Let that weight drop.
Well, I'll drop the mic. I'll drop the mic.
If you got them. Man.
No, anyway. I quit smoking. I not smoked for 30 days. Vape don't count.
You made it to the 30-day?
Yeah, I got my. What is today? Monday. Saturday was my 30 days. I got my 30-day chip last night because they had chip night.
All right.
Smoking cigarettes or something else?
No. That's what I said. No, I don't smoke any. I don't smoke that. But that is cigarettes. Like I said, vape don't count. And standing next to people who are smoking and going when they exhale, that don't count either. I do use that a little bit to help me get through the day.
That doesn't count.
It'll stick.
I'm not
soon.
smoking.
Secondhand smoke is worse for you than.
I know. That's what everybody's like. Well, you dummy. That's worse.
9
They're
times out of
they're
10, it's the worst smell in the world. Then you're in a high
it's getting
stress
no.
moment, or
It's
you're
getting
just
to that
passing
point.
by somebody in the right side lane, and the smell comes into your car, and it's the most gratifying smell you've ever smelled in your life, and you're like, oh my God. 30 seconds later, you're back to thank God I didn't fall into temptation.
And there were this weekend. I had several that, as I was doing that, were like, "I'll give you one if you want," and I'm like, "No, I can say no to it to hold it and smoke it, but that little bit of, yeah, and then I'll go away."
You have to build your confidence, right? As somebody who's used something, you have to build that confidence. Once you say no, it
Yeah.
feels so good.
Yep.
Once you're
Yep.
like, no, you look a little antsy over there. You must be ready to smoke again. No.
Yeah.
Actually, that just made me very reassured. I'm able to reassure myself after that no, I'm glad I chose to quit smoking cigarettes.
I did. Sharon knows part of it on Thursday. I got some news, and I was getting ready to leave for the weekend. And when I sat down on the bed, I did look, and the ashtray was there. I didn't have any, but I did send out for some help. Be like, hey, I got a problem. I want one. And I had a buddy call me, and we talked through it, and I got over that. That was the first real desire where I literally wanted to reach for one. All the rest of it was just the mental.
So I threw mine down in February 2020. The Daytona 500 happened. Ryan Newman flipped upside down, got crashed into. It was at that moment that I knew that I was capable of really leaving the habit, because that was a high stress moment. And the first thing that you kind of wanted was that relief from a cigarette. And you were like, nope, I've quit. I'm not doing it. So about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, my wife had quit smoking in October. She had a pack of Marlboro Lights sitting up on top of the bookshelf. Mine had where it was an unopened pack. So I literally fell into temptation one time, and I took a half-smoked cigarette that had dated all the way back to October. May I say it's February?
Yeah.
Almost March. And I fired that half-smoked cigarette up in the bathroom. I choked my lung. the is what I needed. It was the most horrible taste in my mouth. It burnt my lungs. It made me and that was it. That was the last drag that I ever took off a cigarette. I could have fallen back in.
Right.
If I would have had a fresh Marlboro, I'd probably still be smoking cigarettes today. But when I fell into temptation, I made it as dirty and nasty as it could be. And thank God I did, because I never, ever picked up for another drag of a cigarette. My last memory of a cigarette wasn't how good it was. It was that stinking old Marlboro that had sat in a pack for 4 months that that had already been half smoking.
Yeah, that right there is what would kill me. I don't even like relighting my own.
Hey, but remember when you started that habit when you were a kid and you were like 13 or 14 and you picked up my mom's cigarette that was out on the porch and probably had a little bit of rain in the filter and whatnot? It tasted just as bad as that one, but
I never did that.
I was done.
I never did that. I never did that. Nope.
Okay.
Mine, like I said, even when I have one and I put it out, I don't like relighting my own half lit.
Yeah.
But
so
all of that's behind me now.
I would literally be in a Walmart parking lot picking people's cigarette butts up when I was a kid.
No,
so,
I see. I see people do it, and I think of it like I have desired a cigarette greatly, but I was like, I have never had that desire.
Yeah.
And that was while I was a smoker. All right, Sharon, you're going to wrap us up?
I can't relate to what you guys are talking about because I never did smoke. My parents were both smokers, and I thought it was nasty then. I still think it is.
That in itself is an amazing feat, because normally if your parents do, you just fall into it. So that in itself is an accomplishment to reject it all the way.
Yeah.
Well, I was born with asthmatic bronchitis. First 3 years of my life, I was in the hospital 11 times, and they didn't know if I was going to make it. I did, and I outgrew it. by the time I was about 5, but now it's coming back to me. And secondhand smoke, it does get to me now.
Right.
So anyway,
Well, I'll compliment you again. You were smart enough to know, hey, this is going to hurt me if I do it. We know that and still do it.
I mean, just think about the time that we're from, where you smoked in airplanes. Walmart
Right.
bathroom had an
I know,
ashtray.
everywhere.
It's like,
That's
wow,
what I
thank
said.
goodness we're where we are today, and people really become conscious of that.
You were the
that filthy
outcast
habit.
if you didn't smoke. Yeah.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad, he grew up in a house with 2 smokers and didn't smoke, so he could smell me from a mile away.
Yep.
Yeah.
He knew what I smelled like. He knew, like, it was trouble. I had a really hard time smoking in a non-smoker's house, but I was rebellious and I took every opportunity I could get.
You were
Yep.
being a kid. Okay, I'll probably edit all of that out just so you know, but it was a
That's
nice
fine.
conversation. Well, I can't edit
Appreciate
it.
it.
We're on live stream. But anyway, I will say it's time for our roundtable.
Oh, you're right.
and
I
vote
forgot
on
that when
it.
I stuck my tongue out that you couldn't edit that out. My bad.
Yeah, I usually don't edit the live stream, but let's go ahead and talk, do our roundtable sign off. Chris, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me at Flag of Caution on TikTok and Twitter. You can find me at Chris Yellow Caution Flag Creighton on Facebook and YouTube. Go support that Why Not Kid. And follow us here on Monday nights as we're like 8 races.
Yep. Yeah, I
8 more
think 8
shows,
left.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Do you
8 more
take-
races left.
Yeah, so normally my end of the year is as the last race of the season. Do you keep going,
Yeah.
Sharon?
No, we take a break.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say I think we've done maybe one after in between the season
Yeah.
and the start break.
right.
I've
So,
got
yeah.
too much going on to.
Yes.
I need
I
that
enjoy the
break.
holidays. There we
Yeah.
go.
Right.
So yeah, you can find me there, and you can support the show, share it, man, listen to it. Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Well, thank you for being here. Jay?
You can follow me, Facebook, Michael Hoosman, Mopar MJ8 on Twitter and Instagram. This past weekend, I went to a conference, and that is a big part of the being able to quit the smoking is Celebrate Recovery. Had an amazing weekend in Nashville with that all the way around. I believe next week going to have some county fair stuff going on again, some jump and run and motocross coming up, hopefully. And I know we got a couple more shows at Jackson in September. Right now, off the top of my head, I don't even know. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing yesterday, let alone tomorrow.
Okay. And social media?
Mopar MJ8, Twitter and Instagram, and then, yeah, Michael Hoosman on Facebook.
All right. And I'm Vamp Racing Site on Twitter, Vamp Racing Blog and Radio on Facebook. And then we do have the website as well. So you're already waving goodbye.
Bye.
But do follow us. I do put the recaps up. I know I've been traveling a little bit this last month or so, and so we've missed a few. But I should be here for the remainder of the season. And I'm definitely looking forward to watching this season wind down. And I've enjoyed it so much for this season. YouTube has been a new experience for us. We're becoming pros now. I don't know if we're becoming pros.
Yeah, well,
But we're better at it
I don't know about
than
that.
we were at the beginning. We're better than we were at the beginning. We'll put it that way. And I really appreciate you guys for being here on Monday nights for our live stream and offering your opinions and thoughts about what's going on in the NASCAR world. And we'll look forward to doing it again next Monday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time here on Vamp Racing Radio. We do have out today the reviews for the 2 races at Gateway or WWT Raceway. We also have an interview that will be coming out tomorrow morning. We talked with Taylor Mayhew. He is the son of David Mayhew on the West Coast.
Nice.
And he is into racing. And we had an interview with him earlier today. And that will be published tomorrow morning if you want to hear from Taylor Mayhew and his racing career and what's going on with him. And he's got some pretty heavy duty names supporting his racing career. So I really look forward to a lot from Taylor Mayhew for years to come here. So with that, guys, we can't leave without saying thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We didn't get any participation tonight, but I did see that there were people coming and going throughout the evening here, and we'll look forward to being back next week and doing this again. And Jay, I know you and I are doing previews early this week because first race this coming weekend starts on Thursday.
Oh, that's right. Yep, this is week we got that. Okay, well, we'll talk about that and get that squared away.
Okay. Well, take care, everybody. And again, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you. And everybody wave bye to Chris. He's been waving for